So I started the Peggy Lillis Foundation with my brother Liam in the wake of our mother's death in April of 2010 from a community-acquired C. diff infection. Our vision is of a world where C. diff infections are rare, treatable, and survivable, and where indeed the same applies to all superbugs. In pursuit of that vision, we are building and have been building over the past 9 years a national movement to combat this disease by educating the public, empowering advocates, and shaping policy. So we're going to just now share a brief video about our kind of origin story and what we've been doing over the past few years.
Peggy uniquely looked at life because she met it with fun, she viewed it with laughter, and she conquered it with love.
She was truly one of the people that, everyone says someone lights up a room. She truly lit up a room when she came in it.
Loving, caring. She would do anything for anybody, especially me and my brother. Our dad wasn't around.
Peggy took the lead in our family. She was the voice of everybody's conscience, and if you didn't do the right thing, Peggy would let you know about it very quickly.
It was devastating to know that I knew a very vibrant, healthy, terrific human being, and that life came to an end very soon, too soon.
Losing Peggy has affected us tremendously. She was a huge anchor in our family.
I know it's an illusion. So many dreams have been broken at sea.
I think sometimes of my mother's death as being, the canary in the coal mine.
More people are dying of C. diff per year than a lot of other diseases, and it's incredible of how little education there is out there that C. diff even exists.
I lost my mom a few years ago to C. diff.
I have had recurrent C. diff for 9 years now, every year.
Between 2005 and 2012, I had C. diff 8 times.
I feel like I'm dying. I'd lost 15 pounds. I had to drop out of school.
I actually lost my job mainly due to C. diff. You can't, take these constant bathroom breaks and you're having diarrhea 5 times plus a day.
As you go through the motions of the grieving and stuff, me and Christian just said there's something we have to do. What can we do?
The challenge of her death is to educate people about Clostridium difficile, about what can happen to them. We know how to stop C. diff or how to minimize its effects.
Peggy Lillis Foundation is actually responsible for letting me know that a fecal transplant existed. Because of Christian and hearing his mom's story, I was able to go ahead and find out that this cure was out there and that there was a possibility that my life could be saved.
Stories make a difference, People can relate to a story. That could have been her sister, that could be you, that could be me, that could be your mother.
I need to be out there to speak about my illness and to just put the word out there, let people know. I do think sharing your story makes it more real.
The Peggy Lillis Foundation, is a place where other people can connect who have had this horrible preventable disease.
For people who have C. diff, you're not alone. There are other people who've had it, who've lived through it. There is hope for you.
Anytime that I've needed to find out new information or something I might have been a little questionable about, I can go to their website.
Yesterday was the first time that I've ever met other advocates like myself. So meeting people and bringing this awareness together and really putting a face to it, I think is huge.
As a group, collectively, we can make an impact with healthcare workers, doctors, physicians, nurses, dentists, students in all those areas, the media.
I think it's a fantastic organization, and I'm very excited to be a part of the organization and the foundation and do what I can to help with advocacy.
We wanted to raise money
so that Peggy Lillis Foundation can do their job. You know, I contacted Christian right after my mom's death, and they were very supportive. We just loved what they were doing. Their site was a big help to us.
I know my mom, if she could save some lives, she would definitely give her own life up. That's how she was. She would have no problem giving her life up to save other people.
If one of us, or if a close friend or another family member had died of something, our mother would be out there doing something about it.
I'm so proud of them. I can't even tell you. You know, they had a little bit of a rough and tumble life growing up. My sister was a single parent. And if she could see them now, you know, she would be amazed. I'm amazed.
So that was a little bit of who Mom was and a little bit of what we've been up to over the past almost 9 years. But a lot has happened since we finalized that video at the end of 2017. So I just want to indulge me for a minute in sharing some of the successes that many of you in this room have had a hand in helping us to make happen. So a little less than a year ago, the Peggy Lillis Foundation convened the first ever lobby day dedicated to C. diff. The second one's tomorrow. And so last year we had 25 advocates who met with 42 legislative offices in a single day. Advocates shared their personal experience with C. diff as well as facts about the disease with an array of senators, representatives, and staff members. Since then, several of our advocate members have been met with federal and local policymakers in district to educate them about C. diff. Our advocate, Bill Bierman, spoke with the then candidate for governor of New Mexico, who's now the governor of New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, about making C. diff count. Christina Furman met with her senators Roy Blunt, and she talked about her and her daughter's battles with C. diff. As you saw in the video, Ann Fox testified in support of a reintroduced version of SB 102 that would have expanded reporting of C. diff outbreaks in nursing homes in her host state of Ohio. And I think something that's worth remarking on is that for most of the people who are part of our Advocates Council, this is the thing that got them involved in politics and policymaking. Many of them had never before testified in front of Congress or stormed the Capitol. So this is in that way a very unique opportunity. Last April, we launched a Make C. diff Count campaign, which several organizations and people here have signed on to. It calls for greater public reporting of C. diff and other superbugs. And last May, for the wonkier people in the room, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services had a proposed rule change that would have eliminated the Bush-era reporting standards for hospital-acquired conditions, including C. diff. The argument at the time was that the Affordable Care Act, in creating a separate reporting standard, was duplicative. The problem with that argument is that at the same time, the party in power was trying to rescind the Affordable Care Act. So had we gotten rid of the Bush-era reporting and then the Affordable Care Act got rescinded, we would have had no reporting of C. diff. So we found that to be an unacceptable possibility, and us and the advocates in this room vigorously opposed it, and we delivered over 300 comments to CMS during that process, and ultimately they agreed to maintain the reporting laws, and they announced that in August of last year. And I've had the chance just in the last year, but a lot over the last several years, to present in front of hundreds and thousands of healthcare workers. And just last year, I spoke to people in Iowa, Kentucky, Arkansas, and then at the Making a Difference in Infectious Diseases conference. And there's a lot more to celebrate. We spent much of last fall developing our 2019 and 2020 strategic plan. While our vision remains very much the same, and so does our mission, the new plan refines what we've been doing well and minimizes some stuff that we felt was distracting us from our core, competencies, to use some business speak. So what we're doing in our new plan is refocusing on awareness in a new way. We're looking at frames and messages and how we can use them and teach advocates to use them to really speak to policymakers, healthcare workers in ways that meet them where they are. we're going to be developing this campaign over the summer and launching it with C. diff Awareness Month in November. In terms of shaping policy, we're first refining what we're going to be looking at, what makes sense at the state versus the federal level. And the most important thing in this summit is really about is our Advocates Council. So we've, in many ways, most of us were drafted into this work by the loss of a loved one in our own battle. And so we're doubling down on providing education and structure to the people who want to be advocates, more training and engagement with them, building more structures to support and connect them with each other and also with people across the country who need their support. And our board of directors made, I think, a very important change with this new strategic plan. And so we created co-chairs of the Advocates Council, and we added those co-chairs to our board of directors. So those are ex officio roles. Anybody who occupies those roles will be voting members of the board, and therefore we will always have the voice of the C. diff patient and the C. diff advocate as a member of the board of directors, besides me and my brother. We'll also be developing a scientific advisory council, and we'll be putting more information out about that soon. So the goals of this summit. We're here to educate our advocates, and we really appreciate all of you that are taking the time to speak and present and share your expertise. And those who are watching via live stream are also going to be learning quite a bit. We want to help you guys to connect with our advocates and with each other as a networking opportunity. And then tomorrow we're going to take our advocates to the Hill to have them educate lawmakers and enlist those lawmakers in our movement to end the harm caused by this disease. So I just want to make a little personal note. Some of you guys who were here last night heard me talk about this, but the other biggest change in our lives the past year is that my mother's first grandchild was born after last year's summit. So little Grayson Rocco Lillis just turned 10 months old. And it's incredible. It's incredible to have this little life. There are moments when he looks like my mother, which is weird. But it's also heartbreaking in moments to realize that he will never know her the way that we knew her, the way that our cousins knew her. And it just makes me want to recommit to ensuring that this stops happening to families like ours. I think that people in this room and a lot of people watching live stream understand that this is a disease that we, in many ways, understand how to tackle, and we're just not putting the right emphasis on the right things to get there. And that's why advocacy around policy is so important. Without any further ado, I do want to thank our sponsors, our lead sponsor Merck, our lead sponsor Pfizer. Larissa's going to stab me. Our lead sponsor Pfizer, Merck is sponsoring the live stream today. Pew Charitable Trust has been a longtime partner of ours, and I'm going to bring up one of their amazing leaders in a minute. And also BD, which is sponsoring our luncheon today, and we'll be hearing from one of their leaders later today. And the last thing I want to leave you with is just a little bit of a story about my mother. So when I was 6, I really, really wanted to be Wonder Woman. Really wanted to be Wonder Woman. And every time when I was at school, if I was allowed to play or when we at recess, I would insist on being Wonder Woman. Now, this was 1979 in South Brooklyn. So being a red-headed, freckle-faced boy who wanted to be Wonder Woman was not popular. And so my mother at the time was a 25-year-old waitress, and she got called up to the school by the principal. And she was worried something happened to me. I mean, I was being bullied, but that wasn't a thing back then. And the principal brought her into his office, and he said, "We need you to stop making Christian pretend to be Wonder Woman when he's playing." And the principal felt like if I would stop being Wonder Woman, I would stop being bullied and not dealing with the bullies. And so they called me in, and I sat with my mother, and she said, "Christian, don't you ever want to be Spider-Man or Batman or Superman?" And I said, "No, I want to be Wonder Woman. She's from an island of women, and she has an invisible jet and a golden lasso." And I went on and on about all of the things that make Wonder Woman so extraordinary. Might have been the first hint I was gay, by the way, from my mother. And so I just want you to imagine, a young Irish working class woman who didn't graduate high school, had not yet attended college, sitting in a room with people with dual degrees. And so she looked at the principal and she said, "My son can be whatever he wants to be. And if you try to make him stop, I'll take you to court. It's your job to protect him, not his job to conform." And so that, in a nutshell, is who my mother was. And she did think that we could be whatever we want to be. And when she died, I decided that what I wanted to be was somebody who would spend the rest of my life ensuring that this stopped happening to people. So, without further ado, I'm happy to introduce our first presenter, Kathy Talkington. Try following that, Kathy. Good luck to you. But Kathy is the director of the Antibiotic Resistance Project at Pew Charitable Trust. She also represents Pew as a member of the Presidential Advisory Council on Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria. I just want to emphasize again that Pew has been an incredible partner to us since we started this summit. They were one of our first sponsors of our first summit back in 2015. They have every year sent one or more of their experts to provide content for our advocates. And I'm just really delighted to have Kathy with us. So thank you so much, Kathy.